It's the radio guy, Mike Prince. Welcome to the Sunday night edition of the Mike Prince Show. Coming to you live tonight. We got a lot to discuss. The XFL gets off the ground. Did you like it? At least my team of choice, the St. Louis Battlehawks, they set history, at least brief history. They got the first road win over the Dallas Renegades tonight by the score of 15-9. Pretty good weekend. Big weekend on the heel. The Panthers win against Texas Southern from the men and the women's side. We'll have Coach Byron Smith live with us tonight. We also have to talk about the latest and the greatest going on with North Carolina A&T. We'll have football analyst B.J. Jones to join in with us on tonight. We got a lot to go over and through, and we might as well get right into it right now and go for a ride on tonight's episode. Well, what did you think? Was it worth the anticipation? Was it worth the wait about the XFL? I happen to have enjoyed myself over this weekend, the way the games were played, the results even. And I think it has a good chance of making it. They were very methodical in their planning to get this thing relaunched. We know the first year what it was. The most famous thing that people can remember is "They Hate Me," with the name on the back of the jerseys. But how time brings about a change. And speaking of time bringing about a change, we know that everybody has an opinion on what has been going on in the case of North Carolina A&T. We also have some results of recruiting. We're going to break down what the class recruiting looked like as far as the conferences are concerned. We'll have BJ to go into a little bit more detail about that. Do a little letter grade on some things and break some stuff down. Softball started off over the course of this weekend. Panthers end up 1-4 after they opened up in the Cowgirls Classic softball series at McNeese. We'll try to get a little bit more information about that in a little bit later on. Some of the scores over the course of this weekend in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Basketball. Panthers, as we mentioned, with a huge win over Texas Southern. And even though Texas Southern was playing short, I'll still take it. I'm not going to feel sorry that they didn't have control. And no doubt they will see each other again, perhaps in the tournament, at least on both sides. Well, I know for the men's side for sure, but I just got a strange feeling that they all will be meeting again for another kumbaya experience that can be shared on the hardwood. The standings right now on the women's side of things, Jackson State still blowing the socks off of everybody They are 10-0. 10-0 in comfortable lead of the basketball world from the women's side. Texas Southern and Southern are at 8-2. Alabama A&M is at 6-4. Prairie View at 5-5. Another team at 5-5 would be Alcorn State. Then you have Alabama State, who's at 3-7, as well as Jackson State. Grambling and Mississippi Valley are at 1-9. Now, depending on who you ask, people are more surprised about Grambling being 1-9 than Mississippi Valley being 1-9. Scores and results over the weekend from the women's side. Alabama State 66, Mississippi Valley 61. You had Prairie View 50, Texas Southern 47, Southern University 70, Grambling State 51. Alcorn State falls short to Jackson State by the score of 76-66. And then you had Alabama A&M over Arkansas Pine Bluff by the score of 65-52. We'll discuss the men's side of things, but first we're going to take us a break, and when we come back, we'll hear from the head basketball coach for the Prairie View A&M University Panthers, none other than Coach Byron Smith. You're listening to the Mike Prince Show live right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. We'll be right back.
Be the one with courage to fight child abuse.
All Texans must find the courage to fight child abuse.
Learn the signs and symptoms and report suspected abuse to appropriate authorities.
Learn and know these warning signs.
A child who undergoes changes in behavior, appetite, or routine.
Watch for unexplained injuries, a change in academic performance, or loss of interest by a child in regular activities.
Trust your instincts. If you suspect something, do something.
If you believe a child is in an abusive situation, please call the Texas Abuse Hotline at 1-800-252-5400.
Be the one with courage. To find your local Children's Advocacy Center, visit onewithcourage.org.
On behalf of children, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's face it, from time to time, we'll have a need for an attorney, whether it's the case of a DUI, DWI, or any other circumstances that would find you on the other side of the law. Attorney Lee Van Richardson, located at 1047 Austin Street, is the one to call. Attorney Lee Van Richardson and his staff are equipped to help you get through your legal battles. Attorney Lee Van Richardson, 979-826-8008 in Hempstead, Texas.
This broadcast is being made possible by the support of the Prairie View Athletic Club. The Prairie View Athletic Club is a proud supporter of Prairie View A&M University athletics. For more information on becoming a member of the Prairie View Athletic Club, send your email to pvathletic.club@gmail.com. That email address again is pvathletic.club@gmail.com. Prairie View Athletic Club, a proud supporter of Prairie View A&M University athletics.
Are you one of the many Americans that deal with the effects of diabetes? Diva Skin Conditioner could be the remedy that you need. Diva Skin Conditioner is a formulation that was designed with you in mind. Diva Skin Conditioner comes with a money-back guarantee. That's how confident they are in their product. For more information, visit divafeet.com. That's D-I-V-A-H, feet.com. Or you can speak with a representative by dialing 903-270-0026. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Mike Prince Show live here on Sunday night. Don't have to give an introduction to our next guest. We gave the scores from the women's side of things, and we'll kind of go over that a little bit later on. But our next guest right now is none other than head basketball coach for the Prairie View A&M University Panthers with their 69-59 victory over Texas Southern, Coach Byron Smith. How you doing this evening, Coach?
I'm doing well, Mike. And yourself?
Oh man, I'm doing great, man. It's been a great weekend. Panthers get to sweep on the hardwood. The XFL had its debut, and my team, the St. Louis Battlehawks, they represent my hometown, of course, was a good thing. And then for you on the Houston side of things, we might as well get this out the way because I know you're gonna sneak it in. Your Cougs go to 9-2, man.
Yeah, they had a big time win today against Wichita State. They've got it going. They're doing well.
Yeah. So you think I was gonna leave you out, didn't you? Coach, give us a recap, man, of last night's performance.
Mike, I thought it was a total team effort and victory. I think it was Prairie View Nation. I mean, it was a packed house. I mean, obviously we had the ceremony, getting the our conference championship, tournament championship, and NCAA banner. That was something special for Prairie View Nation. So it just felt like it was a pvamu atmosphere at night, and it kind of ignited us. Obviously we got off to a great start, going up 9-2, and obviously Texas Southern, a good team. They battled back, and obviously they got the lead. We got the lead. They got the lead. We got the lead. They go in at halftime up by 5, I think. And, of course, we came out in the second half and kind of got it going again, another 9-0 run. And, we were just able to sustain it. But it was a total team effort. I thought we did a great job on the glass. I thought we kind of took some of their scores out of it. I thought the biggest thing that kind of comes to mind was the job that we did on Tariq Armstrong, who's probably the best overall point guard, in my opinion, in the league. We kind of neutralized him in the second half. He picked us apart in the first half, not necessarily with his scoring, but with his facilitating and getting the ball for some easy baskets. So he really kind of got to the paint and made some things happen. Second half, he didn't have as good of a go of it. And obviously Antoine Lister and Dwayne Cox and Faith Williams, Leon Sneed, our guards, did a great job. And I thought that was the difference in us winning. And we really held him down in the second half.
Yes, sir. It was a big night. Free throws, still a little challenged, 50%, but it was enough at the charity stripe to get the job done. Yeah,
we're like the stock market when it comes to free throw shooting. We're up and down. A game or two ago, we were the Alabama trip, we were really good, at the foul line, and obviously coming back, it's just a work in progress, Mike. You think you got it under control, and you go out and you don't do as well. So, we're going to be right back to the drawing board this week in practice. And, hopefully we can become more consistent down the final 8, conference games going into the conference tournament. We definitely have to get a hold on this because this is how you finish teams off and win games, close out games by knocking down free throws. So we definitely have to pay closer attention to it and get better at it for sure.
Now, you were in your neighborhood of where you'd like to be as far as three-pointers go, but you were only like 1 for 11 on the night. I know that's still something that you're getting used to. I know there's been a slight adjustment with the three-point line. It's more of a mental thing when it comes to three-point shooting?
I think it has its place in the game. I think sometimes when you go out and you start shooting threes, and you're not making them, it can affect, other parts of your game. And, our game plan is to stay away from it early. Use it as base needed, but we've got some guys that just like to be adventurous and like to shoot the long ball. That old baseball commercial years ago, it said chicks dig the long ball. I guess these guys are playing that on their videos at home or whatever, that they want to shoot the three ball, and we just haven't really done a great job. I think since the Jackson game was probably the last time that we were, somewhat consistent, if I can remember. But it's a work in progress. Free throw shooting and 3-point shooting. We got to get one of our guys, Antoine Lister, Chancellor Ellis, Darius Williams. We got to get one of those guys, if not two of them, to if they're going to shoot it, to be at about somewhere around 40%, to really give us a chance to accomplish the goals that we set out to accomplish. Otherwise, we need to just stay away from it and keep driving the basketball to the basket and then shooting the mid-range shot, because those are higher percentage shots. We've got better finishers around the basket. We've got better mid-range players than do three-point shooters. So if they can't get it going in pretty soon, we're going to have to make some adjustments and tell them, hey, you're going to have to get off that line and do something else.
Well, the beauty behind all of it, though, is you had strong rebounding and you're still playing some solid defense. So it kind of circumvents the struggle from the free throw line and at the 3-point arc. But as you mentioned, you put all that together, man, you have the perfect storm, and these contests are not even close as they are as we see them right now.
If we can get, like I say, we can get not even a 3-point shot, but if I just our perimeter shooting can become a little bit more consistent, you know, we're going to be a tough out, because Mike, we are going to defend, come hell or high water. We're going to always have a defensive mindset. If they're going to play at Prairie View, that's just the way that it is. It's non-negotiable. If they don't, they're going to sit. And I always say you're not always going to play well, but you can always play hard. And defense it's a will, not a skill. And we have to do that. We're going to do that, because when you're not knocking down shots, you still have a chance if you're keeping the other team from knocking down shots, or at least making it difficult for them to score. You still have a chance to win the basketball game. And that's our mindset. And I think that we've stuck to it. And I do like how we're playing defense. And again, teams are going to score. You got good players as we do. My teams are going to score. But it's just not letting them get those easy baskets, making them have to move the ball around to be able to score. And I think Texas Southern had to do that yesterday. It wasn't just a come down and just straight line drive, getting to the basket. So I am pleased with the direction that we're going with our defense. But I think we can get a lot better, Mike.
Well, you know what? A good coach is always looking for angles that they can do things better. We're speaking right now with Coach Byron Smith from the Prairie View A&M University Panthers. The big win over Texas Southern on yesterday at the Baby Dome. It was good to play in front of a packed house, huh, Coach?
It's great, you know, and I know it'd be pretty difficult to have every game like that, but if we could have half of what we had yesterday, man, I mean that gives our guys such a shot in the arm and a boost, and it makes them feel really, really good. I know I did, being over there, and I wasn't even playing, even though sometimes you look at my shirt, it looks like I am playing because I'm sweating profusely. But it just gives you that extra boost, and we just like to encourage Prairie View Nation to try to come out and support us as much as you can in the final four or five home games that we have remaining.
Absolutely. It's always said, well, when they start winning, we'll show up. Well, newsflash, they've been winning and been doing it quite consistently. So those who profess the love of basketball and the support of the Panthers, especially if you're a student, it doesn't cost you anything. Show up. That's my fuss.
A little bit of effort. That's all it costs.
Yes, sir. Well, I always say, in fairness, part of the challenge in today's student is that you have so many distractions. When you and I were walking around on college campuses, that was the social event. If you was going to talk to anybody, especially if you're meeting someone of the opposite sex, you going to the game. You going to where they at. Now I can send you a direct message and don't even have to leave my house.
Exactly. No doubt about
it was part of it, but we'll find a way to work that part out. With this win over Texas Southern, not that the race is over with, and more than likely you guys are going to meet in the tournament again, this puts you a little bit in the driver's seat as far as separating from the rest of the pack going down the stretch. Did you emphasize the importance of this particular contest? We know that the next best game or the next greatest game is the one that's next on the schedule. I know all those cliches, Coach. But when you really letting the rubber meet the road, and it's the emotion, it's the competitor of Byron Smith, there was a sense of urgency, at least I felt, coming into this for the men and the women. You really couldn't afford to lose this contest.
Correct. Mike, and what I said was, obviously we never really talk a lot about winning and put that pressure on our guys, but we said it was a must-perform night, must-perform game. And Mike, you have to be careful, with what I say, but I think after we talked, after they beat us at our place, I didn't feel real good about that, and it wasn't just that the loss. It was how we lost. I felt some things. I don't feel we were allowed to play. I'm not talking about anybody in particular, but I just felt that the game was a slow game. I think it was too much outside influence, if you will. I just don't think that we were allowed to play our game. So, to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't feel good about their victory over us on January 11th. So, having said that, I felt that we would get this game. I said that from when we got over the hump, as you predicted, that we would beat Alabama A&M, and I appreciate that prediction because you were right. In double figures, once again, the great Mike Prince, great projection prediction. And what I said in the locker room at that night, before we headed back to the hotel, that we owe this team one. With all due respect, great coach and great tradition, great people, but we owe them. They're not a better basketball team than us, and we let they had some help, or we had some help, however you want to word it. But I felt that we would win this game going away. And I did say this a must perform. The urgency was at an all-time high. And it wasn't just because, the banners and we were at home. We could have played them, at Waller High School, in the 9th grade center. It wouldn't have mattered. We were going to cover this and we were going to beat this team. And our guys were up for the challenge. And again, the game goes back and forth because that's what happens when you get the number 1 and number 2 teams in the conference, like Duke and North Carolina. It's like the Cowboys and the Giants, Redskins, Michigan, Ohio State. It's always going to be back and forth. So, but to answer your question, Mike, it was a tremendous urgency, and it was a must-perform/win game for the Panthers. And we covered, we covered the bet, if you will. We definitely did.
Well, once again, the Panthers victorious over Texas Southern. They'll have this Monday off, but there'll be other conference games. You'll next be on track to take on the Grambling State Tigers. Now, I know it's far in advance, but just like it's a disadvantage to play on a Monday to speak because you got so little turnaround time. What advantage does it give you to get prepared for Grambling now, knowing that that's going to be your next opponent in almost a week's time off?
Well, to get back on that free throw line, as you so eloquently said, that we're shooting well from the foul line and the three-point line. So it'll be probably more focused on the free throw shooting this week, and just kind of cutting down on some careless turnovers. I think we need to have some heavy dosage of discipline and awareness this week. We'll do a lot of film. We'll watch a lot of film. We'll bring those guys in and break down some things and show them some of the things that they're doing. Because obviously, visual aid is the greatest, I think, illustration for these young people, the visual learners, to be able to see, is to hear it, audio, but also to be able to see it, video. I think that's much more impactful. So we'll do a lot of film time, individual film time, team film time. We'll work on a lot of free throw shooting, just to try to, obviously continue to, set the foundation, the things that we're going to be about and how we're going to go out and play night in and night out. Just to, reiterate some of the things that we talked about thus far that put us in the position that we're in right now, which is 8-2, which is not very bad. We should be 9-1, maybe 10-0, Mike, to be perfectly honest with you. But we'll take 8-2, but we want to continue. So it'll be a lot of cerebral thinking, things going on this week in Pantherland.
All right, the Panthers, as Coach Byron Smith just mentioned, 8-2 on top of the conference of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. They're closely behind. Well, closely behind them is Texas Southern. They're at 7-3. Then you have like a little log jam between Grambling, Alcorn, and Southern University. Those three programs are at 6-4. 5-5 is where Alabama State is. Alabama A&M at 3-7, 2-8 with Pine Bluff, and 1-9 with Mississippi Valley. Now, I'm going to say this and make the statement. You can agree or disagree with it. The surprise team thus far has to be the Alcorn State Braves.
Agree.
Okay. Why, on your behalf, you think they're one of the surprise teams?
Just because, when they came out and played us the first game of the season, I felt like we were pretty dominant, and I just kind of felt like it looked like it was maybe slim pickings and a bit of a down year. But then obviously 48 hours later, they go over and they shoot about 70% from the three-point strike. and beat Texas Southern going away by 15, minus their top point guard, Tariq Armstrong, didn't play in that game. So it didn't seem like it was going to be that way. But, Montez Robinson is an excellent coach and an experienced coach, and he's kind of lit a fire in those guys. And they're really, really, really shooting the basketball. They got 4 guys that can stretch the defense and they can really score. And they've just kind of put it together. Every year there's a team that people don't think it's going to be as good as they turn out to be. I think last year was, yours truly, the Panthers. I think we were predicted to finish 4th or 5th in the conference, and we ended up winning it. So this year looks like maybe they're going to be this year's version of Prairie View, the surprise team. And they're really playing good basketball. Now they took a shellacking last night at Jackson State, which was a surprise to me at Jackson State. I think Jackson beat them by more than 20, which was definitely a surprise. 83-57, I think, was the score. But I'm sure they'll bounce back tomorrow night. And I can't think who they play. Jackson. Who's the other? Grambling. I think they'll play Grambling tomorrow night, I think. And I'm sure they'll probably bounce back and kind of get things going. So, but it's been Alcorn. I mean, they've definitely been a surprise and, really good team. And whenever you go, especially we go there and play them here in a few weeks, we have a work cut out for us. But they can score, and they can score in bunches. They can score in droves. So they're going to be a tough out. But, my hat's off to them. They've had a good season. And, hopefully it'll continue every night except when they play against the Panthers.
I do understand that, my friend. And I do need to stand corrected. There's a 4-way logjam. We had omitted Jackson State, and we don't want JSU Nation cutting us up. And, man, you omitted us, Prince. So it's a 4-way logjam with Jackson State, Southern University, Grambling, and then Alcorn State. Now, Coach, you said something just a moment ago when you were saying that, like everybody was shocked at the performance that you did on last year. As a competitor, are you preaching to your squad right now, we got to prove to these folks that it wasn't a fluke last year and stay even harder on your grind this year?
It's not so much about proving. It's just really, matching and exceeding our own expectations. Because I don't ever think you can, satisfy, the masses. You win by 30, you should have won by 40. You win the conference championship. You win the first play-in game, and you go into overtime against Gonzaga in the first round, and they'll come back and say, "Well, hey, you should have beaten Texas Southern both times." So you know how it is, Mike. Come on, man. You know how it is. This is real talk.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We do appreciate the support, but we know who we are. We know whose we are. We know the type of team that we have. But we just got a group of young men that are just dedicated and committed to, and they're not satisfied with just getting a banner. The Pattersons, the Andrews, the Williamses, the Ellises, the Listers, those guys are hungry to do it again. I think it's more about just them trying to see how far they can take this thing. And obviously, when we win as a team, everyone in Panther Nation wins. So hopefully we'll have some smiles on the faces of the alums and the boosters and the supporters, the student body, because we do pay close attention to how they feel, and we do want to make you guys as proud as we possibly can.
But you know what? That's the beauty about sports, man. When it's you guys in the trenches and you have a rough patch, when you go through a rough patch, they're terrible. But then when you guys come out, we're great. And, it comes, I guess, with the territory. But it's just the nature of athletics, and why athletics to me is something that can be the healer, if you would, in the land as we know it today. Because I don't care what the subject is, there's somewhere you can relate an athletic principle to it to help. That's why not only are we building great leaders on the court, in this case, or the field in other respected areas, but you're also building them off their playing surfaces. And the impact that a coach has on a student athlete goes beyond their playing eligibility.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a tremendous responsibility, one I take very, very seriously, and honored to be in a position to have a platform to be able to affect young people in a positive way. And once again, as I said before, this is my divine assignment. This is what God has given me, and I take it very, very seriously. I nurture it. I love it. I'm appreciative of it, and and we have to do the very best that we can when we have the position to try to make everyone around us that's associated with us better, feel better about what's going on, and and to do better, and to be an outstanding example, because we have a lot of eyes that are on us and on you too, Mike, in the position that you're in. So, we have to make sure we're doing the right things to have a greater impact.
Yes, sir. I'm just a nobody trying to tell anybody about somebody, brother. But I appreciate that, man. Look, it's all eyes on you, man. You are the man sitting in the center of the court, got banners dropping down, bling on your pinky finger, and then and if I'm hearing, and I'll say it for you, put a little respect on your name, huh?
Yeah. Hey, Mike, I tell you, you know what? Hey, that's why you and I are so close, because you know what? You say the things that I'm thinking, and just afraid to say it. So that's why you are and always have been my guy. Sure.
Well, I appreciate that, man. And look, we appreciate all that you're bringing on the table right now. Byron Smith, head basketball coach of the Prairie View A&M University Panthers, sitting on top of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. That sounds so nice. I'm going to say it twice. Sitting on top of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. They're off Monday, but they'll be back on the grind against the Grambling State Tigers. Coach, we want to thank you so much for joining us, man. And look, since you got we're going to still get together next week, because just because you're off Monday don't mean we can't talk next Sunday night. How does that sound, man?
Absolutely. I look forward to it, man. Definitely one of the highlights of my Sunday, besides going and getting the word on Sunday morning.
Well, man, you're too kind. And as I say, the check is in the mail. And we're going to take us a break, and we get ready for the next half of tonight's episode. Coach Byron Smith and the Prairie View A&M University Panthers. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. As always, you guys be blessed. We'll take a break, and we'll be right back.
Have sports, will travel. The Open Mic Broadcast Network serving student athletes from Little League, high school, and collegiate coverage right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. From coast to coast, from dusk till dawn. You can catch all student athletic action right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Brandon BJ. What's going on, my man?
Serving the community through faith and athletics. The Open Mic Broadcast
Watching
Network,
TV?
the voice of students.
What you watching, man? The Office? Okay. Did you check out any of those XFL games? What did you think?
Supporter of Prairie View A&M University Athletics. For more information on the coming
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you what I really liked. I thought it sounded crazy at the beginning, but I like the kickoffs.
That email address again is pvamu.
I really do like the kickoffs. You got your list together, my man?
Prairie View Athletic Club.
Okay. This is going to be interesting.
Let's face it.
This is going to be interesting because,
for an attorney.
It's a message to the meac and SWAC. If I'm the SWAC, man, I got to go and get FAMU and Tennessee State. I got to go get them.
Is the one to call. Attorney Lee Van Richardson and his staff are equipped to
Gotta go.
help you get through your legal
Oh, yeah.
Attorney Lee Van Richardson, 979
Yes, sir.
826
All right, man, I'm about to play this break, and we'll be coming right back. Play.
Serving the community through faith and athletics. The Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Half sports.
I forgot to get this one spot in, BJ.
The Open Mic Broadcast Network serves student athletes from Little League, high school, and collegiate coverage right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. From coast to coast. From dusk
This is some good stuff, man. You rolling right off, man.
you can catch all student athletic
Yeah, I'm
action
trying to do
right
the
here
get
on
the
Mic
rankings
Broadcast
done.
Network, the station designed with you in mind. Serving the community through faith and athletics, the Open Mic Broadcast Network, the voice of student athletics.
We'd like to recognize sponsors. Attorney
Okay,
Lee
this
Van
is the one I
Richardson,
needed
located
playing.
at 1047
We'll get
Austin
right back
Street
to it.
in Hempstead, Texas. Their phone number is 979-826-6008. Diva Skin Conditioner, located at divafeet.com.
Yeah, man, this is all right. Now,
we
we take your time, brother. I don't normally have. I usually do an hour, but we gonna walk our dog and get all your stuff out.
Okay.
That's why I'm taking this break.
857-5817.
Like George was, I be
Temple of
thinking, man.
Refuge Ministries, located in Prairie View, Texas, at 45372 Old Highway 290. Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union. Several locations to serve.
Got to pay the bill, brother.
Rosenberg, Brenham, Ryan, College Station, and Waller, Texas.
Are you using your mic?
Toll free 855.
Oh no, I'm using the mic.
1149. If you or your business would like to be a part of the sponsorship team here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network,
Okay, we just about done with this spot.
832-213-8824.
Okay, we're about to come back.
Check this name out, Mike Prince. His name is Awesome Harris.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Oh, what a name. What a name.
Yeah, that's right. He's from Decatur, Alabama. That's right there in the Tennessee Valley area, Decatur, Alabama. He played at Austin. This young man played outside linebacker as well as wide receiver. Looks like he'll be playing outside linebacker at the next level, but he is 6'4.5", 225 pounds. He recorded 105 tackles and 14 tackles for loss his senior year. He intercepted 3 passes. He had 4 pass breakups, recorded 4 sacks. Also, he was able to rack in 31 receptions for 426 yards. He chose Alabama State over Jacksonville State, UT Chattanooga, Eastern Kentucky, and Southeast Missouri State. So that was a young man that Alabama State was able to get out of Alabama A&M's backyard. And Mississippi, we know what Alcorn did. Jackson State was able to do themselves some work. One of the young men that Jackson State was able to pull was a young man from Madison, Alabama, played at Bob Jones High School, a young man that I actually coached. He's leaving from out of the shadows of Alabama A&M, and he's going to Jackson State, and he was very emotional during his signing day because his mom had passed, and he just talked about what it meant for him to get the opportunity to play at the collegiate level. But that young man is leaving, like I said, the shadows of Alabama A&M and going to Jackson State. A young man by the name of Trey Lockhart. He can play safety. He can play cornerback. 6'1", 180 pounds. Great athlete and a great young man. And I'm not just saying that because I coached him. He's an absolute great young man. He gets it done on the field and in the classroom. Also, on the offensive line, Jackson State was able to get Caleb Graham out of Terry High School right there in Mississippi, but they were able to go to the state of Georgia and get 2 men from Douglas County. One was a young man by the name of Joshua Beatty, and the other one was David, and I'm going to need some work on this last name, Okaniro. Let's say Okaniro. They were a part of a Douglas County team that averaged 220 yards on the ground per game in Metro Atlanta.
Wow.
These kids are both over 6'3", and they're north of 300 pounds. So those were some road graders that Jackson State was able to pull in. If you go down to Baton Rouge and Southern University, this is one of the things that I told people from Southern. Southern has a very young team. You're not going to get a large recruiting class. But the kids that Southern was able to pull in, they can go. And it looks like Southern, even yesterday, was still pulling them in. One of the young men that they were able to pull in was a younger man by the name of Luke Howard. He was a young man that played tight end, 6'4", 220 pounds, out of Lafayette, Louisiana. They were able to get that young man. Jaden Landrum, young man from my neck of the woods, my hometown of Arlington, Texas. He played at Bowie High School. And Bowie is usually a contender.
Yeah.
They're a pretty solid program. Antonio Smith was one of the players that they were able to get from Ocala, Florida. 6'2.5", 272 pounds. A defensive tackle there. Southern was able to, get in and do some work. Also, we transitioned over to Texas. Look at what Texas Southern was able to do. You talk about coaching it's going to be his second year. And what I'm impressed with Texas Southern about is, despite the troubles that program has had, they're still able to get in quality kids and recruit some quality kids. And it's going to be interesting to see with them building these recruiting classes how this Texas Southern program will look in a year or two. But if you're a Texas Southern fan, you have to be excited about what you saw. One of the young men that they signed that I was excited about was another wide receiver. It was another wide receiver to go with that football team, and that young man, his name was. My computer just went down, Mike.
That's all right. That's all right. We're talking live right now with B.J. Jones, football analyst here, breaking down the Southwestern Athletic Conference signing days, round 2 that just happened this past week. It's always exciting. And while he's talking about that, when you recapping what Grambling has done thus far, Grambling seemed like there was a message hidden in the recruiting, and especially the way they went in recruiting, going to that JUCO route on the offensive side of things and continue to build right now. If I'm reading in between lines without trying to create a ruckus, but part of journalism is trying to read what is obviously right there in front of you, there's a little pressure on Fobbs at G Nation that they got to win and win right now.
Yeah. And one of the areas of opportunity for Grambling has been that offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of, Gramblingites like to blame the problems on the quarterback.
Yeah, Hickball, he can't do it without the protection.
It's hard to play the position of quarterback if you're looking up at the lights.
Right. Or running for your life.
Right.
It's pretty challenging. And when you look at that, and once again, fans have the right to voice how they feel. And I've been hearing there's been a little bit of uneasiness for Fobb down that way. And hopefully this recruiting class can gel together. And while you're doing that, I don't like to burst people's bubbles because this is an exciting time of year. It's an off-season action that's going on. But it's great to talk about these guys and recap them as we're doing. But to me is the retention power that these guys still even in school in the program a year after they've signed. So to me, that's the sticking power. But I won't, as I say, rain on the parade, and we'll let you continue on with your recapping.
But yeah, one of the guys at Texas Southern was a young man, Gabe Smith, out of Austin, Texas. He plays that defensive end position. He's 6'2.5". He's 225 pounds. And when I watch this film, he jumps out. And if you have watched Texas Southern, especially last year, Texas Southern could score on anybody. Texas Southern could not stop anybody.
Right.
And I think that this young man out of Austin, Texas, defensive end, pass rush specialist, I think that he comes in, I think he can be an immediate impact for that Texas Southern football team. And when you look at his size, 6'2.5", 225 pounds, he has that pass rush. He has the size that he needs. Texas Southern went heavy on the defensive side of the ball. They went Terry Petrie, a cornerback out of Blinn College. He's another guy that should be able to make a commitment. But when you look at Texas Southern, where it was Seeing Blanton or Terry Petrie, Gabe Smith, Dylan Hamilton from out of Houston, Texas, they went heavy on the defensive side of the football.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, Petrie is a game changer. We cover some of the Blinn Buccaneers sports here at the network, and he's definitely a game changer. And you know what? He got a little nasty in him.
Okay, and that's what they need. That's what Texas Southern needs. Like I said, it is imperative that they get that side of the football fixed quickly, because that defense caused them some games last year.
Right.
If that defense plays a little bit better against Southern, then they may win that football game. If that defense plays a little bit better against Arkansas Pine Bluff, they may win that football game. So That's some things that you look for Texas Southern. And your alma mater, you guys got a pretty good one from Oklahoma transfer by the name of Troy James.
Mm-hmm.
And down at Prairie View, 6 foot, 288 pound defensive tackle. He's one of those big guys up front that can plug the middle. Also, young man Warren Shankle out of Pearland, Texas. 5'10", 212 pounds. He's a young man. You look at his film, he has some nasty to him, like you said. But one of the young men that are going to get a lot of people excited in Prairie View Nation was a young man that comes from Louisiana. He comes from Metairie. Played at Rummel,
Mm-hmm.
And that's Jordan Williams.
Right.
6 feet, 244 pounds. Plays defensive end. And I've watched Rummel play a few times. He's a young man that jumps off the screen. I think that, he's going to help shore up that Prairie View defense. What's the temperature of the room when you start talking about the signing class? How's Prairie View Nation feeling about the signing class that you guys were able to bring in?
Well, right now, it's almost like I say the Missouri mentality. Show me, it's good. And like I said, the challenge, and not just at Prairie View, is the retention, as I mentioned. How long do these guys stay around? Do they even make it to get out there and on a game that matters? You can be all class in the purple and gold or the spring games or whatever the colors or the choices of the representative schools. But the retention, will these guys be able to see it through of a collective class? Because when you look at it on paper, Prairie View has had some dynamic classes these last 3 years under Dooley. He's got the gift of gab. He know how to bring them and lure them in. And not just, like I say, Prairie View's case, you want everybody to be able to be the last man standing. Now, when you were talking about Jordan, he's also a defensive end linebacker type dude too. He's like a hybrid, where he can and like I said, he's got that nasty in him, and that's part of Prairie View's challenge was, once again, they could score with anybody, but it was like a floodgate on the defensive side of things. So hopefully they can address those needs and get this thing caught up.
And I think for Prairie View, much like Texas Southern, the problem wasn't the athletes. I think that Prairie View probably has the most impressive group of athletes that you will see in the conference. But the toughness when you need it, the ability to get a stop when you need it, that's been the Achilles heel for Prairie View the last 2 seasons. And you look at it from a recruiting standpoint, it looks like Coach Dooley is really trying to address that, because now he's going into year 3, and people who were patient before, they're not going to be as patient in year 3.
Man, look, if I'm not mistaken, did you just call us soft?
I wouldn't say soft.
Okay, well, what did you just say then?
But I would say sometimes they lack toughness when they.
Okay. How about intensity? Let's say intensity.
There we
Sounds
go.
Better.
Intensity when they. There we go.
I'm just giving you a hard time, BJ. We're talking with BJ Jones. BJ said, "Oh my God, did I just tick this dude off?" No, I'm good, man. You have to. Your job is to call it as you see it, and as you research it, you got the qualifications and the expertise to do what you do. That's why you're on this show, man. So continue on. We're at Prairie View. I guess next we're headed where we're heading next.
The only 2 schools that we have left in the conference are Arkansas Pine Bluff and Mississippi Valley. And let's take the stop in Mississippi Valley first. If you look at what Mississippi Valley did, they always go heavy in the JUCO route. They signed a lot of junior college kids. That's because Mississippi Valley needs immediate help. They need immediate help. A few of the kids that they signed, one of the kids that they're very, very excited about was a young man by the name of Dwayne Betts. He came into Mississippi Valley by the way of Pearl Junior College. He's a wide receiver / athlete. He can play several different positions, but Coach Dancy is really going to have an interesting time kind of trying to figure out where this man's going to play. Is he going to play multiple positions? I've been listening to some Mississippi Valley people talk about maybe them using him in a way like the Saints use. His name slips to me right now, but the kid from BYU. I can't think of his name.
But I can tell you another Valley prospect, and he's a local legend there, Booker Chambers, because they use Booker Chambers in a lot of creative ways. And so this is, when you were describing him, that's what I was thinking. He's the second coming of Booker Chambers.
Yeah. So, Booker Chambers, somebody who can line up in the backfield, can return kicks, return punts. You can line them up at different positions. So, yes, like Booker Chambers. That's perfect because he's more current. But he's a young man that everyone's looking forward to. Also, with Mississippi Valley, a young man by the name of, I think it's Kaya Moore. He's another athlete. He's from the state of Alabama, Hillcrest High School, 5'8", 175 pounds. He puts you in the mind of a Booker Chambers or Willie Quinn, that type of an athlete, a young man that doesn't need a lot of space, but they're able to make a big play. They were all able to get an offensive lineman by the name of Ronnie Dunn. He's from Deerfield Beach, 6'5", 300 pounds. He's another young man that people are excited about. And he actually played both sides of the football in high school. He played offensive line and on the defensive line. But then there was another defensive lineman that they got from just outside of the Atlanta metro area from Sewanee High School. Young man by the name of Jacob Allen. Young man is 6'3", 270 pounds, defensive lineman. With that type of body type, you kind of wonder if he's able to come in and make an immediate impact for the Delta Devils. Anthony Lakely is another young man from McLean, Mississippi. He's from East Central Mississippi Community College, 6'2", 200 pounds, defensive back. He has the ability to play both corner and safety. A lot of people think that he's able to come in and will be a day one starter once he comes on the campus there in Mississippi Valley. Kenneth Martin was a young man who was highly talented out of high school. He's from Columbus, Mississippi. He's out of Itawamba Junior College. He's headed to Mississippi Valley State. He's another one of those 6'1", 6'1.5", 200-pound defensive backs. They have the ability to play both cornerback and safety. Overall, Mississippi Valley did a solid job recruiting. They brought in a big class. They of course, they lost a lot. But it's going to be interesting to see how Coach Dancy and his Delta Devils look this year, bringing in so many new faces. How quickly can they get adjusted, and can Mississippi Valley build on what they did last year? Remember, they had Jackson State on the ropes.
Right.
They played a few other teams tough. The Mississippi Valley is one of those teams I root for. I know they have so many things stacked against them. Mm-hmm. But, I root for Mississippi Valley, and it's going to be interesting to see what Coach Dancy and this football team looks like in year number 2.
Now, some notes that I had about Valley, they were able to grab a 6'4", 240-pound quarterback out of the Houston area. Were you able to dig anything up on him?
That was the kid, what's his last name, Tate?
I believe so. You did mention Tate.
Tate.
You did. Yes.
Tate. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's exciting. And looking at potentially him staying in the Texas area, I'm gonna have a finger on his pulse just to see how he pans out with Mississippi Valley. That was an interesting move to me.
a lot of people didn't expect for that young man to go to Mississippi Valley. They felt that he would have some opportunities to go elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And the Mississippi Valley people that I know expect for him to possibly be the trigger man year number one. That's a lot to ask of a young man, but from his, looking at a little bit of his Huddle film, but I'm really skeptical of what I see on Huddle, just because I would like to evaluate you from whole games,
right,
instead of just your highlights. I want to see your low lights. I want to see how you respond to adversity. But everyone seems to be excited about that young man.
Well, and the reality of this too, BJ, is that the game gets a little bit faster on a D1 level and in college, period. So hopefully he'll be able to make that adjustment and stand up to the mission at hand that they're going to be recalling for him at Mississippi Valley. We're talking live with B.J. Jones, football analyst here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network, doing a spectacular job as always. We're down to the last man standing, Coach Thomas and the Golden Lions of Arkansas Pine Bluff. What you got for us, man?
Well, UAPB only brought in 10. They were already a young football team. They only brought in 10. But what Coach Thomas was able to do, he was able to go into New Orleans, Louisiana, and get Jabaz Miles, 6'1", 214 linebacker out of St. Augustine. He was able to get up into Detroit, Michigan, and get Christian Love, an offensive lineman, 6'1", 285 pounds. He was also able to pull some kids out of the Memphis area. He got Marcus Askew, 5'11", 185 pound safety, and then he was able to pull Kadarius Atkins, a running back from Forest City High School in Forest City, Arkansas. He's 5'11", 190 pounds. This young man had 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons at the high school level. That's impressive. Another young man, Kendarius Clark, from Barton High School in Lexa, Arkansas, 6'2", 290 pounds. He's a 2-time All-State kid. Small class, only 10, and only 3 from the state of Arkansas. A lot of people had some questions. Golden Line fans had some questions about that, and that's what I had to explain to them. We only have 63 scholarships. Arkansas Pine Bluff is not losing a lot of talent, which is good news because they went 6-5 a year ago. First winning season since 2012. Now you're adding a few pieces here and there. This may be a year that people may not want to sleep on Arkansas Pine Bluff,
Absolutely.
just based on how much talent they have coming back. So it's going to be an interesting year up in Golden Line country with Coach Thomas.
So they are fully funded now as far as scholarships go. I know there was a challenge a couple of years ago. So they're up to their 63 allotment as far as scholarships go?
I think they're getting close. I don't think they're quite there yet, but I think they are getting close.
Okay, I know Valley's struggle is they're at like 36 scholarships, which is really that of D2 status. And some people, depending on who you ask, say that maybe they and Pine Bluff should consider that. But I say let them stay as long as they can stay and just hopefully they get better. Because as you root for them, I root for them as well, because when they do better, we all do better. And that's the big picture of this thing. We're talking with B.J. Jones, football analysis, outstanding breakdown of these conferences. Now, I'm going to give you this because you heard my spiel on, it's exciting to talk about, but really, if we did a survey, how many of these kids that signed stay the entire duration and graduate and play all the years of eligibility of the schools they signed with? So I'm going to ask you this: your top 2 winners and your top 2 losers from your analysis of National Signing Day from the SWAC.
So my top 2 winners would have to be Alcorn State. I would definitely put them up there as one of the winners, and my second one would actually have to be Alabama State. I think Alabama State did an outstanding job in the kids they brought in. If you had losers, I wouldn't never really call anybody a loser, but I think that Jackson State's class was a little bit underwhelming. I think that the people in Jackson were expecting more. And they did get some quality kids, but they missed a lot of heavy hitters that they were expecting to get. And anytime that happens, regardless of who I replace that heavy hitter with, I'm upset because I lost a heavy hitter.
Mm-hmm.
My next loser within the conference, I might have to roll Arkansas Pine Bluff. Anytime you Arkansas Pine Bluff, you missed out on some state kids. You did get 3, but there were some kids in state they were really hoping to get that they missed out on. Some kids that went to some other places. So that would be my second loser. I think the class was overall solid for the 10 that they got. But the 10 that they got is not what everybody's talking about. It's the 2 big ones out of Arkansas, out of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Pine Bluff High School that they missed out on.
Okay. So, but you can't get them all, though, right? At least I'm pretty sure they kick the tires on them and say, hey, we would like to have you. But the ultimate decision comes to these student athletes where they feel comfortable. And what I've learned, and you probably will be able to relate to this, a lot of kids have a tendency not to appreciate a university that they grew up in, especially on an FCS level or any Division 2 or 3 level, because that's just such and such down the street. I'm big time. I want to go somewhere where my name's going to be in lights or another city. They just want a change of scenery. So a lot of that weighs in the fact that when it's hard to recruit local kids. A lot of people say you got to stay local, but the local got to want to be kept. You can't keep nobody that don't want to be kept.
Right. And that's the big thing. You know, I'm a young man, originally from Arlington, Texas, but, grew up in Birmingham from 97 on. A lot of people say, how did you end up at Southern and not Alabama State, Alabama A&M? And they went back to that. I didn't want to stay at home. I wanted to get off and, get away and do something different. And that's what a lot of fan bases have to understand. A lot of people, especially with Jaguar Nation, like, why can't we get these kids out of Baton Rouge? Why can't we get these, it's the same story. It doesn't matter which school. Why can't we get these local kids? Well, if you're a kid, you grew up in that place, when it's time for you to get out of mama and daddy's house, you some kids just want to change the scenery and you want to get away.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's it's nothing personal toward the said institutions. Sometimes they just don't want to be got. Not by you.
Right.
So it is what it is. BJ, another outstanding job. And we're into bonus coverage right now. For those who are listening, we're live here with BJ Jones. We're talking football. Our first guest of the evening was Coach Byron Smith. Panthers take care of business with the Texas Southern Tigers. They'll have Monday off. SWAC basketball will resume on Monday night. The Panthers will next be in action on next Saturday as they'll open up in Grambling. They'll take on the Tigers, and we'll have, of course, the latest and the greatest on that. And speaking of the latest and the greatest, it's time to address the elephant in the room. North Carolina A&T decides to join forces with Hampton after a year ago criticizing Hampton for leaving. Now they're part of, I guess, the X Factor. What's your initial kickback on this situation?
Man, criticizing Hampton was a nice way to put it. I would say straight up ridiculing Hampton. I mean, it was. Look, if you're going to make that move, I feel like you need to get the pulse of your students, your alumni, your past and present student athletes. North Carolina A&T did neither. They didn't even consult alumnus who write checks. That is what we can't do, because now when you make decisions and you did not incorporate those people, you have now created a us versus them mentality, whether you realize that you did that or not. And with all the positives and the growth that's going on in Greensboro, North Carolina, with North Carolina A&T, you don't need anything to be segmented. You want to keep that positive momentum moving forward. Now, when we're saying that, come out and say the reason that you're leaving. Don't give us these talking points. Well, it's about revenue. No. Big South brought in less than the MEAC. It ain't about revenue. It's about travel. Okay, but you still got to travel to New Jersey. You still got to travel to Florence, Alabama for right now. So give me something else. At the end of the day, this was about North Carolina A&T making the move because of the instability or maybe the cracks in the foundations in the MEAC. All right? And there are other schools who are also considering or looking at what's going to be better for us overall moving forward. Is it going to be to stay in the MEAC, or is it be able to go look elsewhere? And I think FAMU is one of those schools. I think North Carolina Central is one of those schools that are looking at, okay, what do we need to do? Because we don't need to be caught offhand by anything that's going on. The problems of the MEAC have been well documented. The end of 2016 going to 2017, Savannah State announced that they will be moving back to Division II. It would be effective January actually 19, because they actually spent 18 in the MEAC.
Right. Well, I was saying 18 even their last year. Right, you're right.
Yeah. So Savannah State made that announcement. In 2015, South Carolina State came close to closure. Things were getting bad at South Carolina State. At the end of 2017, going into 2018, that's when the news first started breaking about Bethune-Cookman and the dire situation that they had. So for about 4 years, you've been knowing there's some instability in the conference, and two of those situations have nothing to do with athletics. Mm-hmm. It would impact athletics because there's some deeper issues, but two of those situations athletics can't do anything about. But it's a bigger than athletic thing. You could still potentially lose those schools, and there wasn't any talks, any plan about what's the long-term health about the league. And I know that we should stick together. We should do all these other things. But if I feel like you ain't got my best interest at heart, or if I feel like you're kind of jerking my chain a little bit, I'm more apt to leave you than what I was had you been treating me right.
Right.
So I think that's what that come down to.
So broken down relationship is really what it was, and because let's face it, these partnerships are relation built, and it has to do with trust or lack of trust when you create these relationships. So from the knee-jerk reaction is, how can you abort your HBCU heritage and this, that, and the other, and you're running over there, and you get all kind of reactions, all kind of sayings, and it's always a deeper story than what we see on the surface. And part of quality journalism is you got to hear all aspects of what led to the decisions being made. Some of it we don't want to hear, some of it we don't want to admit is going on, but it had more to do, as you mentioned, with some in-house challenges. And as we talk about that, how does this possibly trickle over to the SWAC?
I think that in the conference, I will tell you that there's two schools I always worry about, and that's Alabama State and Alabama A&M. And the reason being is a lot of those alumni, a lot of those people feel like we have nothing in common with SWAC schools. We don't really travel anyone but each other as far as athletic events. Nobody really travels to us either. All right, except for Alabama State. Alabama State will get a big crowd from Southern, Jackson State, and now recently Alcorn. But usually no one really traveled to them. They didn't really travel to anyone else. And you've heard Bama State talk about in the past about some other options outside the SWAC. So when you talk about the SWAC, those are two teams that I usually worry about. But I think that you might see FAMU start making some googly eyes over at the SWAC, especially if things don't get better over in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. Like, you might start to see FAMU make some googly eyes. And Bethune-Cookman and South Carolina State they're not able to turn around their situations. So knowing Dr. Charles McClellan, I like the way what he has going in the conference right now. Has the conference on the right track. I wouldn't be surprised if the SWAC sent out some feelers to FAMU. Just say, hey, what's going on. And I think now it's a time to strike. Strike while the iron is hot. It wouldn't be a bad idea to give Tennessee State a holler either to see how they're feeling. Because I know there's some unhappy schools in the OVC, mainly Jacksonville State and some others. And there were some things that happened in the OVC that made a lot of schools in the OVC upset. And those hard feelings are still there. So this might be a good time to get with Tennessee State, too, just to kind of gauge their interest.
Now, I've been getting some feedback and feelers as well. They're saying that really and truly that the only way that the FAMU deal could work is you'd have to include Tennessee State. And it's even going as far to say, and we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, they say invite those two, bring in Tennessee State, bring in FAMU, and excavate Pine Bluff and Mississippi Valley. But I would say keep them all.
Right. Because I don't feel like if you leave out Pine Bluff and Mississippi Valley, then where do those schools go? They go
right.
I say keep them.
Right.
But I would love to see. Yeah, I would love to see Tennessee State and FAMU here, but also in the MEAC. A lot of people talk about Virginia State and what they're doing. Well, the state of Virginia has limited how much, what percentage of funds you can use to fund athletics based on student fees. So that has hurt a lot of schools in the state of Virginia. It has actually hurt Norfolk State. Norfolk State is finally figuring that thing out. But I think with that, that's probably why you won't see Virginia State move up. But one of the names that keep coming up in MEAC circles is Fayetteville State. Have one of the largest budgets in the CIAA. They have some pretty nice facilities. They have the students to be able to, to do the move. That could be interesting when you start talking about potential schools that could go over to the MEAC. But if nothing changes, I'll be really worried about North Carolina Central following North Carolina A&T and possibly a school like Norfolk. So you got, I think that the next 6 months will tell us about the overall health and stability of the MEAC.
Now, do you think Norfolk and North Carolina Central would end up as a Big South alliance as well?
Yep.
Wow. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Well, since this is all hypothetical, speaking about Texas, I'm not Texas Southern, but Tennessee State and FAMU, if they are to join forces with the SWAC, and people say, well, where would you put them at as far as East and West? I say this: you dissolve East and West, make it one conference. Your top 4 teams play to see who plays for the championship. And what you do, 1 plays 4, 2 plays 3, top seeds host, and you can readjust your schedules enough where you can get this out. And the only tempting situation would be, and since you are a Southern alum, I'm going to run this by you first and see what you think, not eliminating the Bayou Classic, but playing the Bayou Classic a week earlier in order to make this work. Do you think that would even be a remote possibility, being a Southern alum and with your finger on the pulse of Jag Nation?
I would say for the greater good of the conference, I wouldn't mind it, but I know our fan base. The Bayou Classic has turned into a family reunion, class reunion, Thanksgiving weekend, everybody's off, so we have this stretch of time type of scenario. People have woven Bayou Classic into their family's fabric. So that's going to be a hard sell for not only Southern University alumni, but Grambling State as well. But for me, I was like, okay, yeah, cool. And if this is going to be for the greater good of the conference, then let's do it.
Okay. Does that sound too far-fetched?
No, it sounds like something that can really work. One of the things I'm concerned about right now is talk about the overall health of the MEAC. Well, where are we as far as the Celebration Bowl? And I know ESPN is paying attention to this stuff. Does this affect that? So, that's all the stuff that I'm looking at.
Well, reports have been shared and statements made by the the executive director, John Grant. Right, mm-hmm. That he said this by no means is going to affect the Celebration Bowl, and in fact, it will be an extension coming up pretty soon. Now, with all that being said, and I made a little sarcastic remark on Carlos' show just the other day. I know one institution is glad as Alcorn, so they can say, whoever you all got, they ready to give them some of that smoke back. But when the dust settles, a lot of people are focused and looking at North Carolina A&T as the bad guy in this situation. But there is two parts to this story, and really and truly, it's a critical time for our conferences. And I was on record for saying that, of course, the MEAC and the SWAC, they mirror each other so closely as far as budgets and the caliber of teams that they have. Are we to the point now that the message is, according to Hampton and according to now North Carolina A&T, we have a D1 status, but we operate in a D2 mentality?
We've done it in the past. Like we really have. More so the SWAC under Dewar Sharp than the MEAC. But yeah, we are these D1 schools where we operate with a D2 mentality. I do think that we fall into that trap sometimes.
Okay. And not to be critical, but the fact is you have to point that toward leadership. Now, we talk about Dewar Sharp, but Dewar Sharp had multiple extensions, which is a direct message from the presidents and ADs, hey, you're doing a good job, keep it up. And then you get led down this dead-end road. Can you blame it all on Dewar Sharp?
Nope. Dewar Sharp is basically the representative for the presidents and the higher-ups for each school. He works for them. And we can talk about his tenure as SWAC commissioner, but somebody was extending him. He wasn't extending himself.
Right.
So, somebody was extending him. So, for as bad as he did, or people say that he did, what he was doing was either okay or he had pulled the wool over the president's eyes.
Well, you know what? I think it was more of his personality. He was somewhat dry, but wasn't mic friendly, if you would, for those in the media, and he kind of kept everybody at bay. And I think that's where people start formulating their opinions. Did he make some bad business moves? Yeah, he made some bad business moves. You got presidents and ADs at our said institutions that make bad business moves. That's part of I guess, growing and learning on the job. That's why I think that when you get people, and this is another factor we didn't get into that we can probably do another time, when you bring people in who don't understand your culture, they won't appreciate your culture, and they're quickly to change things. In the case of Dewar Sharp, he came from Wisconsin. In the case of North Carolina A&T, they have an athletic director who, for lack of a better word, who doesn't look like the team or the institution he's representing. You got this move that's happened with Pine Bluff of late, where, and these are factors that we don't want to talk about, but they really need to be looked at a little bit closer, because people have a tendency to fall back with what they're comfortable with. And if you're comfortable with doing things a certain way, and if it's not getting done here, why know a place where we can get it done? And let's pack our bags and go. And that's what we're seeing right now. And as far as being an advocate for HBCU sports, it looks, not to be the one of doom and gloom, that this could be the beginning of a methodical breakdown of HBCU conferences as we once knew them.
I agree. I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. I couldn't put it any better than what you did.
You think I did all right with that, man?
No, I thought you put it on the money.
Well, you know, they say I fuss a lot, man, but I don't be fussing. I'm just a gatekeeper. And here's something else that people need to appreciate about true journalism. Journalism is not always going to be a happy, feel-good report.
Right.
The decisions that were made at North Carolina A&T didn't just happen over a weekend. There were meetings on top of meetings, strategic plans on top of strategic plans, and no one was the whistleblower as far as finding out what's going on and reporting to the masses. It's like they shoved this in your face and say, okay, here you go. Now, if you wanted to stay in the MEAC and you were one of those, you feel betrayed, you only have yourself to blame, because we have a tendency to have a knee-jerk reaction. We respond after the fact instead of being proactive and nipping stuff in the bud before it gets out of hand. It's not about being controversial, but if you see a problem coming down the road, let's get it out the way now, man, so we don't have to deal with this later. That's how I look at it.
Yep. I mean, we are too reactive and not proactive.
Yes, sir.
And then once something happens, we want to react and we start scrambling everywhere, and we didn't have a plan or anything in place. So when the thing happens, we can deal with it and deal with it effectively. Absolutely,
absolutely. Well, BJ, man, we've had some bonus coverage on this evening, and I really, really thank you for that. What I want to do is give you an opportunity to share your contact information and then give some closing thoughts and comments, man, as we get ready to, as they say, wind down tonight's show.
All right, you guys can find me on Twitter at Inside HBCU Football. Also, Inside HBCU Football on Facebook. You guys can find me pretty soon here in the Open Mic Network. Me and Mike talked about the Sports Lounge with BJ Jones. Mike, I got a new name that I like.
Okay.
A new name that I like, and I'm working on a logo.
Okay.
It is the Barbershop.
There you go.
Barbershop with BJ Jones, and I think that we're gonna have some fun with that. I like to call it the realest, trillest guy and girl talk. We talk about sports, and it makes you feel like that old school barbershop.
Man, put me in the chair, baby. Put me in the chair and just shave me all around. Shave me all around.
Yeah, so that'll be coming. You guys will like that. As far as my closing arguments, it is this. On Friday, North Carolina A&T made a decision to go to the Big South. Their move can be scrutinized. We can scrutinize a lot of things. We can scrutinize the reasons that they say that they were leaving. We can scrutinize the way and the manner in which they decided to leave, not letting the alumni know, not letting former players, current players, not letting them know, not letting the important people around North Carolina A&T know their intentions. It seems like this was a move that was made between the president and athletic director and people on the board, and everyone else was shut out. That was something that was negative. North Carolina A&T should have handled that better. But at the same time, you cannot blame North Carolina A&T for doing what they felt like was better. We had every opportunity in the world to keep North Carolina A&T. When I say we, I'm talking about us as the MEAC and HBCU conference. We knew that things were falling apart around us, but yet we chose to do nothing. We chose to play the waiting game. As time moves along and college sports become more of a business, the waiting game will get you beat. There's this thing that they say when it comes down to war. He who hesitates just lost. Now it's time for us to be very, very proactive. We start talking about intercollegiate athletics, especially intercollegiate athletics at a Division I level. We start talking about TV money, bowl games, and so forth. Hopefully, this North Carolina A&T deal was a wake-up call for the MEAC and SWAC alike. That's my closing shot.
That's your closing shot?
Yep.
Well, I tell you what, you couldn't close no better than what you just did, my man. We want to thank you for joining on with us on tonight. We want to thank our first guest, Coach Byron Smith from the Prairie View A&M University Panthers. Basketball action for the SWAC will continue on tomorrow night. Don't forget, we'll be with you in the morning, 10 a.m. If the Lord say the same and the creek don't rise, with the Mike Prince Show, Monday through Friday, right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Carlos Brown on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. And we do it all over again here live Sunday nights at 9 p.m. And I cannot forget Miss Sonja Stamp. She comes to you on Fridays right here with She Say Sports. We want to thank our sponsors on tonight. We want to thank our listeners on tonight. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. And as always, you guys be blessed. And we'll see you on the other side.